In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government. That is a summary of my report on a constitutional republic, not a democracy.
Welcome back to Notify America. We have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include Donald Trump coming out yesterday at a campaign event in New Hampshire and telling his audience that Nikki Haley is out. She is not in the running anymore as VP. He said he thought about it, but decided she doesn't have what it takes. We have the clip. We'll watch it together. Also, now that we know who Trump isn't going to select as VP, do we have any idea who he is considering? Do we have any inkling in who he may select? Yes, we do, because in a new interview, Beck divulges that he just spoke to Trump the other day, saying Trump called him directly and asked him that very question. And some of the responses were quite telling. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. Also, if you're not already subscribed, consider doing so to continue receiving these daily updates. Donald Trump announces to a New Hampshire crowd yesterday at a campaign event that he will not be selecting Nikki Haley as VP. He said he considered it, he's thought about it, but there's just some people you have to rule out altogether, he said. And Nikki Haley is one of them, which is good because we've been hoping he wouldn't take the bait. There's been these rumors going around that big money donors have been trying to persuade Trump, trying to get him a message. If you pick Nikki, choose Nikki Haley as VP and we'll get behind you. We'll get behind your campaign. We'll back off with all that negativity. We'll be more comfortable with your campaign and we'll get behind you and help you get this done. Get you back in the White House. Well, it looks like that was tempting enough to have Trump consider her for the position because he addresses those rumors, which we reported on a few weeks ago. Watch this.
I put her in the room, you know. Look, one of the reasons I did, because I happen to love the Lieutenant Governor, Henry McMaster, South Carolina, great. I said, by moving her someplace, Henry McMaster becomes governor of South Carolina. And by the way, he's been a fantastic governor. Henry's been a fantastic governor. So I did him a favor. He was with me all the way. I did him a favor, but I did it because he's good. And he's been very popular, but put her over there. And like I said, she was okay, but she is not presidential timber. Now, when I say that, that probably means that she's not going to be chosen as a vice president. You know, you can go. No, you can go and you can say certain things, you know, I don't like them and blah, 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 and this. But when you say certain things, it sort of takes them out of play, right? I can't say, she's not of the timber to be a vice, and then say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce that I've picked. Do you understand? But that's the way it is, okay? Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is, right, Steve?
So now that we know who Trump is not going to select for VP, do we have any idea who he will select? Do we have any inkling about who he's considering for the position? Yes, we do. So Beck was just interviewed on the PBD podcast, and he spoke about a recent phone call that he received. His phone, he said, rang the other day, and when he picked up, to his utter amazement, the former president was on the other end of the line, saying that he called Glenn to ask his opinion about who he thinks he should choose for VP. And according to Glenn, he wasn't the only person who he called. Lots of Trump's friends and associates received the same call. Even members of the media that Trump likes and respects also were called and asked the same question. Now, supposedly, everyone gave Trump the same answer. They all floated one name to him, more or less, Vivek Ramaswamy, which is interesting because we just saw Trump and Vivek join forces, come on stage together in New Hampshire the other day, Vivek promising to see this through until the end. Now, I personally like Vivek. I've said it numerous times. I don't think you can get a smarter candidate, but I never really pinned him for VP. I feel he may outshine Trump sometimes, and we know that Trump doesn't like that kind of thing. I always kind of thought that he'd make a great chief of staff, though. The White House chief of staff. It's got a hell of a lot of power, that position. That person acts under the authority of the president, almost like an operations manager, which is exactly what Trump should use Vivek like, in my opinion. Let the guy loose. Set him loose on the deep state, on the bureaucrats entrenched in Washington that both of them, both Vivek and Trump, want to try to root out and fire. They both talk about it. Also, if he doesn't work out, Trump can always replace him, but choose him for VP and you're stuck with him. Can't replace the vice president. Anyways, that was just a thought. Watch this interview with Glenn Beck. Watch him explain this conversation about VP.
Last week, Donald Trump called me and he said, any advice on who I should pick for vice president?
Oh, really?
Who do you think? Not that he's probably calling everyone.
But that's great that you're on that list.
And so he said, who do you think? And I said, I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but this is the day, I think it was the day he trashed Vivek. And I said, Vivek. And he said, why do you say that? He said, that's the number one response from everybody I've asked that question. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, A, he can defend you. He's right in your pocket. And while you're defending this, he's watching your back defending this. I said, also, I think some of his ideas are really, really good. Yeah. He connects with the youth, which now the latest of 18 to 24-year-olds that voted for Biden, they're not voting for Biden, but they won't vote for Donald Trump yet. So you get that lower vote, the people that are excited about, hey, something fresh and different. And then in 2028, when you can no longer run, you continue for another 8 years, right? And you get the credit for bringing this new, fresh face in. I said, I just think you become legendary.
And what did he say to that?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I actually, the more and more I think about it, having spent countless amount of time with Beck, absolute stud, I could see it, man. I could see it. What do you guys think? Can you see that?
I think both self-identify as women for the inauguration to be the first woman. I mean, that would be the funniest thing ever.
What do you think about Tulsi?
I like Tulsi. I like her a lot. I don't think she helps Donald Trump. Maybe she helps with the left, but or with the Democrats, not the left, but maybe she helps. I think knowing Donald Trump, especially the Donald Trump of 2016, I think that's the move he'd like to make. I think a Democrat, somebody that is not normal. I think he really has a true desire to come together, and I think he believes we can come together. Just like after he wrecks somebody and then he destroys them, he's like, hey, buddy, how are you? Yeah. You're like, I'm a wreck right now.
I'm on fire.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.